I'm Talia, and I played Tell Me Why, a high-quality, interactive HBO mini-series of a game. I think the story-rich, episodic, choices matter games are fascinating because the questions developers have to ask themselves to get it made. What can the player interact with? What will the character's reaction be to those things? How they decide what decisions the player can make? The dialogue is pretty solid to me. In some games, you'll select a dialogue option and the delivery is very out of left field, which leaves you with the feeling of, that is not what I thought that meant. An aspect Tell Me Why nailed for me was the line between what a character would do and what I would do, and the way the narrative justifies your decisions. With one exception. A particular hard point for me to get over in the game is how cop apologetic it is. They really want you to like the various pigs they introduce you to. There are 3 cops in the cast of 15, with one being a very important figure. While initially Tyler does push back against getting along with them, it's mostly stuff like cops aren't great a couple times. It feels very much like someone who wants to criticize cops, has read or seen some coherent criticisms, but doesn't know how to articulate the points themselves. Along similar lines, much of the queer representation and discussion feels in the way of made with queer folk rather than made by queer folk. While Tyler gets transphobia and ignorance from 2 characters, they are both resolved by some stern words and seeing him happier. And that's all that's needed for them to accept him. But even still, their biases are still heavily rooted. The Christian who is uncomfortable with it but won't say anything, and the older guy who accepts you as a man but also still thinks less of women. Not a person in this small town that we see is vocally against queer people. I've grown up in a small and red enough town to know that's not quite right. Both of these issues feel dealt with in a very, we want to have our cake, but we don't want to make a cake. Is store-bought okay? Like their inclusion is more for an ounce of prestige than it is to actually say anything profound about them. But at the end of the day, to me, this story is not about pigs and bigots. It's about family, trauma, and memories. And I think it does it pretty interestingly. The twins have the ability to communicate telepathically, which goes mostly unused, making it feel more like an addition for a selling point rather than an interesting narrative device. Their ability does extend to being able to see old memories together, which is a great narrative device. The ability to use a trigger and a button to give backstory and remember things works seamlessly, and I really liked it. In the end, I personally like the story. One sibling wants to do everything he can to work through the trauma and uncover the truth. The other wants to help, but wouldn't mind things staying buried. How this resolves is ultimately up to the player, like I said at the top. It's pretty much an interactive HBO series, for all its pros and cons. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourself, take care of others, and have a good day.